Welcome to BPTV. I'm your host Andy Amrine, and this is another of our Handy Andy segments. And this is a spring makeover challenge from the municipality of Bethel Park. So getting you geared up and showing you everything for spring and what you could be doing for your gardens and your house. We are here at this fabulous place called Trax Farm. Trax Farm has been here since 1865. And 1865 till now, this is the place to go for your spring needs, your plants, your flowers, your seeds, and everything like that. So let's talk to Ross and find out what's going on at Trax Farm and teach you a little bit about getting your garden ready and what to plant, what not to plant, and when to plant it. Here we are in one of the buildings for Trax Farm. Ross Trax, thank you for taking the time. What part of your building, your vast empire here at Trax are we at?
This is we are in what we call Block B of the greenhouse.
Block B.
Yeah, this is where we sell all our annual flowers out of.
Okay, it's absolutely beautiful. Even for this early in the season, you still have a lot of choices for the customers.
It fills up pretty fast. It was probably 2 weeks ago, it was almost completely empty, and in the last 2 weeks, we've filled the table.
It sure gets us excited for spring. And with the municipality of Bethel Park, we're trying to get our residents, our homeowners, and let's say everyone in the South Hills to really make their homes, their gardens, the front of the yards, backyards, and everything look a lot prettier, a lot nicer, a lot better. And this is the end of March right now, and what is it that the average homeowner can be doing this time of year to get ready for spring? I know today is going to be 70, but that's still a little early,
still March,
isn't it?
And I say April's a crazy month. There could be 4 inches of snow, or it could be 80 degrees, But right now, you want to concentrate probably on cool season annuals, pansies, violas, dianthus, some of your early perennials, hellebores, that kind of thing. But yeah, you'll get people coming in wanting to put their tomatoes outside and their peppers, and it's still way too early for that, even though it's nice right now.
Okay, so. But as far as if they want to be preparing, a lot of people, once it warms up, everyone's ready. They want to start spring, so they want to start growing inside too. When is the best time to start your seeds inside? And I'm assuming there's different times for different plants. So peppers, tomatoes compared to flowers.
Tomatoes could be seeded probably any time. You're probably going to want to grow light if you're growing inside right now, or if we have warm days, get them outside in the sunlight. But don't forget to bring them in at night.
But it's okay to take them out and bring them in?
Correct, yeah. And same thing with these pansies. They're grown in a greenhouse, so they're tender. So if we get a cold night, it's going to be hard on them. But if you get them toughened up, so get them out there during some 50-degree days, get them hardened off a little bit, and they'll toughen them up, and then they can take a 30-degree night, no problem. But
So it is actually better if you're growing inside to take them outside on the nicer days?
Correct, yeah. If you're going to want to, ultimately, if you want to leave them outside, you're going to want to toughen them up a little bit in case you do get a cold night there. You don't have any frost damage on them. It'll harden the leaves off.
What do you find most people are starting from seed inside? What are the common things that people do?
Probably tomatoes might be the earliest thing.
Because they're the slowest growing?
Yeah, and they want to get them in their garden and have them ready to go when they hit the garden and it's warm enough so they can get some early tomatoes. If you wait till May to stick your seed in the ground, you're probably not going to be picking your tomato until July, that kind of thing. So the sooner you can get that stuff started, the faster you can harvest it, the sooner you can harvest it.
Okay.
But trying to think, a lot of our plants are bedding plants that we sell in flats, so they're already started here a long time ago. So once a consumer gets it, they can stick them straight in their ground in May and be off and running.
Okay. Do a lot of people start flower seeds inside?
For the most part, I think most of the seeds that we see being purchased are vegetable seeds.
Okay.
A few people start flowers from seed, but most people are buying them impacts later in the season.
Are there some things that they really shouldn't start inside? I mean, I'm talking corns, beans,
Yeah, definitely.
pumpkins, watermelons. Can they
For
do
sure.
any of those inside?
Some of the easier vegetables to sprout, like you mentioned, corns and beans, much easier to sow in the ground there. They don't transplant, or it's just hard to transplant them because they're a row crop. You know, they're not
Okay.
not like planting 10 tomatoes. You know, you might be planting 100 seeds of corn in a row. You know.
Okay.
So yeah, so those kind of things I would just plant by seed. Your melons. They like the heat of the summer, so I wouldn't try to start those too early because they're gonna, in a cool, damp spring, it's gonna be hard on them. So you're gonna want to start those a little bit later.
How about all the herbs?
Herbs, probably start them anytime, especially if you have a sunny enough window. We have a nice herb selection over there that just came in the last couple weeks here, looking really good. Basil would probably be the one, be a little bit of concern just because it doesn't like the cold at all. So I'd be really leery on basil, sitting it outside on a cool day, but most of your other herbs, 40, 50 degrees would be fine. Get a cool night, just bring it inside.
Do a lot of people do an herb garden inside and just keep it inside, like on a kitchen window?
For sure,
sill?
if they have a
Can
sunny
you do
enough
that?
window, we sell lots of herb bowls and containers. Some pretty creative ones are putting them in galvanized watering tubs and various things. Just make a neat presentation, and people are just keeping those on their deck or in their window.
Is there some herbs that have a better scent, that people like the scent of it more, just keeping it indoors like that?
Yeah, I
instead
mean, there's
of,
lots
you
of
know,
different
for
mints
taste,
out
but
there,
for
and it's
smell?
just amazing all the different mints. And I mean, there's apple, there's orange, there's lemon, and you rub the leaves a little bit there, and it's just crazy that the same plant can have that many different scents.
Okay. Outside, is there, if somebody's not going to be getting into a vegetable garden,
Okay.
and they're just more want to spruce up the front of their house, make it look good from the street, and my house is better than my neighbor's house. Is there any specific annuals that are better at home here in the South Hills, or even going a step farther, how about that the deer aren't going to eat?
Okay.
Because
So-
we have a lot of deer in Bethel
Yeah,
Park.
as far as annuals go, that's the thing about annuals is they're colorful year round.
Okay.
Your perennials, you may get a month or two a month of prime peak bloom on them, but they are perennial. They will come back every year, which is an added bonus. But your
Right.
annuals are bred to be colorful season long. But the first frost will kill them. But as far as annuals, if you want to splash a color in front of your house, that's where it's at. The other thing is to keep in mind if you're planting perennials or shrubs is pick things that have interest more than just in the spring. You know, a lot of times people come in and want a flowering tree, but they're only going to bloom for probably a week or so, 2 weeks tops, and then you're dealing with the rest of the tree, and you're hoping there's some interest in either the bark color or the shape of the tree, that kind of thing. So just try to look for more than one characteristic in a plant there
So
to
you,
get
you like the mix? the
yeah, to
mix
get
of
you a little
colors.
longer season there. And then lots of different textures, different heights, different colors. As far as deer resistance, we will have a table outside here fairly soon of deer resistant perennials and shrubs. No guarantees, especially in Bethel Park, Mount Lebanon, St. Clair. Yeah,
lot of deer.
what they may not eat in one township, if they're hungry enough, they may munch on them in another. But
So
there's definitely
if they are hungry enough, there's really nothing that's
there's some that
100%
are
foolproof.
nothing 100%. We call them low browse risk.
What are one of the best?
So for a shrub, boxwood are good.
How about with the flowers, with an annual?
Yeah, annuals, marigolds,
marigolds, okay.
dianthus. We'll have a whole list of them
Okay.
there. But yeah,
How
there's
about bunny rabbits? What do they like? They like everything too?
yeah, they'll cause problem on some stuff. Chipmunks, squirrels, they'll all be a little bit of a nuisance. But if you can net stuff off, fence it off, we do sell a lot of, and you probably do as well. Deer deterrent products, Bobex and or Bobex, various things you can spray on the foliage there to keep plants or keep deer away.
Okay. Well, April, May, timing-wise, what is your general rule of thumb, let's say, of when somebody can really put something outside? You know, you hear stories, well, when the forsythia bush is gonna
Yeah, I
bloom,
always tell-
that's the sign. And you know, or is there? What do you go by with when people say, "All right, I want to go buy the flowers"?
When can I put 'em out?
Yeah, is it April
We get-
15th? Is
we
it
get
May
that-
1st?
We get that question
Oh,
a million
it's a big
times a day.
question,
But
sure.
I tell people if I knew that answer, I wouldn't be farming. I'd
Right.
be doing something else.
But are most people fairly safe, say, like May 15th?
Yeah,
May
Mother's
20th?
Day. By Mother's Day, for the most part, we're pretty safe here. there's times when you can get a frost up through Memorial Day, but not real likely. And a lot of times if you're getting that cold, then you can take precautions and cover some stuff up because there's probably a little bit of warning that it's coming.
Okay.
But usually by Mother's Day.
What do you try and cover it with?
A frost cloth.
Okay.
Basically anything you don't want to.
I see a lot of beautiful bed sheets.
Yeah.
Sometimes when a frost is
phone's ringing here.
potentially coming on.
Yeah, bed sheets work, blankets work. I would not
Just not
recommend
too heavy?
poly, like plastic type covering, just not enough insulating property. So
Okay.
anything that makes for a good insulation, a blanket, a sheet.
Should it be enough that it's not touching the
Yeah,
plants?
if you can get a little air pocket between the plant and the cover, the better. You trap that warm air in there because sometimes right where the plant or the sheets touching the plant,
Right.
sometimes you'll frost that crown a little bit. So if
Okay.
you can stick something under there to prop it up a little bit, you'll be much better off than laying flat against the
Now,
against
how
the
about
plant.
the stories that I've heard that if a frost comes that nobody really expected, can you get out before the sun comes up and hose everything down?
Yeah,
Does
wouldn't
that
that
really
be nice?
help?
That would save
That
me a
doesn't
lot
help?
of late
Okay.
nights there. Yeah. So basically, from the time that frost starts there, we'll apply irrigation on the farm fields there, and what that does is just basically keeps the freezing temperature right at 32 degrees. Even if it's forming ice there, as long as you keep adding from a liquid state to a frozen state, you're going from something above 32 degrees to right at 32, and you just got to continue to keep the water sprinkling on until the temperature rises enough that you don't have any issues. But yeah, as soon as you drop below freezing and start getting frost there, those cells will start to
Okay.
get destroyed. So.
Okay, now this past year with the pandemic, it's been a crazy year, crazy world. I've seen a lot more people gardening than ever before. And I mean, I've been in the industry 49 years that I've been doing this, and I've never seen so many people interested in gardening. And I guess people staying at home and having more time and not vacationing. Have you guys experienced the same uptick in
Crazy.
people
Yes,
gardening?
it's been absolutely crazy. Just a major, profound effect on our industry,
Right.
which is good because the green industry
absolutely.
sometimes we struggle with. It's sometimes hard to make ends meet there. But the pandemic, unfortunately, as bad as it's been for some, has been good for the green industry for the reasons you said. People are
Right.
staying home. People are dressing their houses up. Also, last year there was lots of times when the grocery store shelves were bare, and people started thinking, well, maybe I could plant a garden. I could
Yeah.
put some lettuce out there.
We had people actually start calling them last year. I'm planting a victory garden.
Uh-huh. Yeah, okay,
You know,
nice.
Back to the
war
Second
times
World
there,
War
yeah.
times and so forth, and planting a victory garden. And it was heartwarming helping people plant gardens for the very first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't tell you the number of people of all ages, whether they were in their teens to 20s to 30s. Okay, help me through. What can I do? How can I plant a garden? So I'll ask you, the expert, instead of me being the hardware geek. What is it that you can do, somebody who has never gardened before? And let's start with the planting flowers, flats of flowers, somebody who has never stuck a shovel in the ground itself. What can you teach us or tell us about planting flowers outside for the first time in our life? Should we just go dig a hole and put them in? Can you put them in upside down? How often do you water? Do you need fertilizer?
Gotcha.
Walk us through the process to tell somebody who has never stuck a shovel in the ground, what do they need to do to plant flowers outside?
Okay, probably depends on what you're looking to plant. If you're planting shrubs and trees, it's going to be totally different than if you're planting annuals. So I'd say the first and foremost would be to keep an eye on the weather. If you're planning to plant annuals, you don't want to be sticking them in the ground until, like I said, probably Mother's Day or later. But that doesn't mean you can't container garden. So
Right.
there's lots of container gardening going on. There's all sorts of different fancy pots out there and neat containers that people are sitting on their balcony, and you get a cold night, you can sit in your garage for the night and then carry it back out the next morning.
Okay.
And also you're not relying on the ground being dry enough to plant that kind of thing. But if you are planting in the soil, probably the biggest thing this time of year is just making sure the ground's dry enough. You don't want to plant right after a major rainstorm when it's sloppy wet there.
Right.
You're digging a hole. It's just going to make cement out of the hole there and compact
Does
everything.
the soil matter? Southwest Pennsylvania, we have a lot of clay.
Really?
Can you grow flowers in clay?
If you can amend the soil, the better. And it all depends. And
Now,
some of
what should we be amending it
Yeah,
with?
we carry a product here called Bumper Crop. It's a soil amendment. You can mix it 50-50 with your existing soil. It just kind of depends. Some of the newer subdivisions don't have much topsoil to begin with. Where
Do you need a certain depth of
you
topsoil?
know, if you have 6-8 inches, you're probably good on any of your annuals there.
Okay.
So yeah, it just kind of depends on the quality of the ground you have, whether you need to amend it or not. But assuming your
Can
ground's
you
good
mix
there.
just like different potting soils or regular soils with your clay soil?
Yeah, it
or do
depends
you
on what
need-
you're planting. If you're planting a tree or a shrub, a bag of topsoil mixed in with your existing soil is probably fine. If you have really poor soil, like I said, that bumper crop soil amendment's great. It has some nutrients in it.
Okay.
Things along that lines. But if you're planting annuals, you're going to want something a little lighter mix, a potting soil mix, because it's going to drain better.
Okay.
If you plant annuals in a heavy topsoil there, they're going to stay too wet too long and
Okay.
and not do well.
So how often do you water? Because you just said too much water is
Yeah.
bad. So there-
Back to being a weatherman.
Okay,
There's no
too
no-
much
no cut or
now.
dry answer
It-
on that.
it-
It just depends on how windy it is, how warm it is. A sunny, windy day, things are going to dry out a whole lot faster than a cool,
so
cloudy
come
day.
July, August, you should water them every day if it's
Correct,
not raining.
correct. Yeah,
but
in April, May,
early-
you can get by with a couple times a week if needed.
okay. But too much water is bad?
depend on the plant. But yeah, you never want anything sitting in water too long.
So plants don't swim?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, it's a silly question. How about fertilizers? How often, if you're planting in the ground, not in the pots, how often do you think you should fertilize? And do you like a liquid fertilizer? Do you like a granular that
Yeah,
you rake in? What's
if I was,
better? What's worse?
Planting annuals, I'd probably go with the liquid fertilizer. It just
Like a Miracle Grow?
yeah,
or,
there's Master Nursery makes some, Miracle
Correct.
Grow makes some. Just your
and
general
these are ones that are powder you mix with
water
water.
soluble.
And,
Yeah, you'll get better coverage there. A granular is nice for if you have a single plant like a shrub or something. You want to sprinkle a handful of fertilizer around the root base there and water it in good. But as far as annuals, I'd probably use either a hose applicator or a watering can with a water soluble fertilizer.
Can you too much fertilizer?
You can, and timing can be an issue as well. Spring is usually a really good time to fertilize, just coming in the spring because plants are going to be pushing new growth there. And if you can get some fertilizer on them when they're trying to grow, all the better. Problem is if you wait too late in the summer and the plants are stressed there and they're struggling to survive, and then you put fertilizer on, they're really trying to push new growth in the heat of summer. It's going to be hard on them. You'll get some fertilizer burn, that kind of thing. But
Okay, now
early spring's a great time.
Let's switch to a backyard gardener, somebody who maybe wants to go above and beyond your annuals or planting perennials or something, and wants to try gardening for the first time, wants to try putting in some tomatoes or some peppers, or even let's go exotic and put in carrots and potatoes or something on it. Now, is this something that you have to get a little bit more involved with, tilling?
Yes.
Field tilling, the get rid of the grass and so forth on it?
Yeah, so you'd mentioned there about the soil. Depending on what you're planting, it makes a big difference. Something like beets and carrots and that kind of thing, you're going to need a sandier, more loamy soil than if you're planting a blueberry bush or something. They require different types of soil conditions there. But yeah, you can basically you want to kill off all the grass first, whether you do that using a Roundup type product or you just till it in multiple times. But you want to work that organic matter into the soil several times and get it loosened up well before you plant.
And still, once again, adding something to the soil
Yeah,
itself?
you can add some soil
that same
amendments in there.
bumper crop, or do you need lime? Does pH matter?
Sure,
Everyone talks about
for sure,
pH
yeah.
of the soil.
And I mentioned blueberries there. There's certain things like blueberries like an acidic soil, where other things like it a little more basic or neutral there. So depending on what you're planting, there's at-home soil tests where you can send out a sample to Penn State Extension. We'll do soil tests as well there. So yeah, if you're really not sure what you're working with, probably a soil test right off the bat may be your best bet. But just keep in mind certain plants have certain characteristics that they like. So you know going in on a blueberry that you want it to be acidic, so you can add a little extra mulch to it and a little more acidic fertilizer to head that direction.
First-time gardener, worried to death that they're going to waste their entire summer by doing this. What is the top 3 easiest plants to plant in a garden?
A vegetable garden.
Yeah, a vegetable garden.
Okay,
What are the easiest?
So this time of year, I would say start out with lettuce. You can either
Lettuce.
plant it from a transplant, or you can sow seeds real easy for lettuce. It's a cool season plant there. You can't go wrong. You go out there with a pair of scissors and cut your lettuce
Cut
for
it.
dinner there.
Okay.
And just don't cut down too low, and it'll keep it'll keep
So it'll
resprouting
come
there
back.
to an extent, depending on what type of lettuce. But a leaf lettuce will keep resprouting.
Nice.
Tomatoes are always a fun one, an easy one there. There's so
Now,
many
are
different.
the little small cherry tomatoes
There's
easier
so many
than the
varieties anymore.
beefy ones?
Yes,
or-
we carry probably 25 different varieties of tomatoes.
all?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's all.
okay.
all
All right,
shapes
start
and
naming
sizes
them.
and
I'll
colors.
count.
Yeah, but yeah, there's lots of neat ones, and if you're a food person, there's lots of cool colors and shapes on them if you want
Okay.
to dress up a salad or something. So,
Okay,
there's
so
definitely
lettuce,
some fun ones.
tomatoes, what would be your next
One
easiest?
probably peppers.
Peppers?
Yeah, the big three there: peppers, tomatoes, and any of your cool season spring crops there. So yeah.
Now, stories of, especially with lettuce, people plant marigolds around to try and keep the bunny rabbits
Mm-hmm.
off the lettuce. How successful is that?
Doesn't hurt. I'd say
They
a
look
fence.
pretty.
Yeah, a fence is probably going to be
Fence is better?
your best option. Yeah.
Okay, so how high of a fence do you think people need to go?
Probably depends if you're keeping out a rabbit or a
Okay,
deer. You know,
okay, say a rabbit.
rabbit a
foot,
couple
3
feet.
foot is
Yeah,
enough?
2 feet's probably fine, but a deer. At
10
least
feet?
at least waist high if you want to deter them.
Yeah.
They can jump a 6 foot if they want to, no problem. But at least waist high will help deter them.
Okay, and then same question as far as a vegetable garden. Do you need to fertilize? How often do you need to water? I know the time of year,
Mm-hmm.
May, June, July, August is different things, but once again, too much is still just as bad as with the
Yeah,
annual
in timing
flowers.
as well on fertilizer, especially on something like a tomato. If you fertilize it early on there, you're going to grow in a nice, enormous green tomato plant, but it's not going to have a whole lot of fruit on it.
Okay.
So I would wait for it to set fruit there, and then start pouring the fertilizer
So once
on.
you see the blossom,
Blossoms
the yellow
and they
blossom
get
or whatever on
pollinated
it.
there, and you're starting to get some little tomatoes on there. That's the time you're going to want to fertilize. Otherwise, you do, like I said, you do it too soon. You push a lot of plant there, but not much fruit there.
So if somebody started seeds today in their basement with a UV light and they're growing tomatoes and peppers, and then come Mother's Day towards the end of May, they'll move it outside. When do you think they would get their first harvest? Depending on variety and so forth, but you
Yeah,
think July 4th?
Yeah, mid-July, somewhere in there on your early tomatoes. We usually plant 3 crops of tomatoes on the farm. So our first ones are usually around the middle of July there, and then we'll have tomatoes through September on the last.
So when
last
you
crop.
go out and harvest in July, how many do you eat compared to how many do you bring in?
Tomatoes, I don't need a ton of, but some of the other fruits would be like a 1-to-1 maybe.
Yeah. When you come in from the field during the day, you're not hungry?
Usually not.
Okay. All right. Just an off-the-wall question.
Yes.
on it. Okay, Ross, we're beautiful inside the showroom, and fountains and planters and patio furniture, and there's a lot more that can go into a garden besides plants. Plants are one aspect
Sure.
of it, but there's a lot more you can do than just putting a plant in the ground.
Lots of garden accents, which is a big part of our business. The pottery out there, the containers are just top notch anymore. They're pretty unique and interesting. A pot display right here, just
Right.
a lot of neat colors, textures, variations. We're standing here by a
Yeah,
fountain display.
How hard is it to put in a fountain?
If you can plug it in and add water, for the most part, you can own a fountain there.
Okay.
Not
So
overly
these
involved.
are all self-contained kind
Correct.
of pump?
Correct.
And all you need is to have power to where
Power
it is,
source
whether
and
you're
be able to fill it up
running
with
an
water there.
extension cord or whatever, and then on occasion add water to it?
Yeah, especially if it's in a windy environment, depending on how big of a fountain and a splash it makes there, you may need to add water a little more often. The wind can sometimes blow the water out of them, but for the most part, they're pretty self-contained. So
It's relaxing sound.
yeah, that's probably the biggest benefit of them is the noise they make, little
Okay.
bubblers and stuff, just a soothing sound
To
there.
soothe.
And but yeah, for the most part, they're pretty maintenance free. Right, the biggest thing is you want to make sure you get them inside end of the season before they freeze there, because you can end up ruining your pump obviously if they freeze, and also you can crack a fountain if you leave water in it. So
Okay. Was there certain types of plants that you recommend around areas that you're doing something as pretty as with fountains? Is there
yeah, so we
different
sell a
plants?
whole line of water plants there. So there's floaters, there's marginals, there's lilies that you would drop to the bottom there. Yeah, usually our water plants will be coming in here end of April, first week of May. But we stock a large selection of water plants, and it seems like water plants are getting bigger and bigger every year. A lot of people putting in home ponds and water gardens. And even if you don't have room for a home pond, there's lots of tubs that people are putting on their deck and getting
Okay.
into water gardening just in a
So you
in a
can
smaller
help somebody
environment.
who actually wants to put in a pond? Do you have the plants or fish?
Yeah,
or
we have plants, we
the
have
frogs
fish,
and everything else that you can put in a pond?
Yeah, correct. Tadpoles, snails. Yeah, so we carry a whole gamut of it. We do not do the install, but we can definitely give you some direction on doing
what
your
to
own
do.
install. Yeah.
Now, besides fountain and planters, what are some of the other things that people are, going to this past year, or what do you see in the future for what people are levitating towards
Sure.
with doing
Yeah,
outdoor dark gardens?
statuary's been really big for us.
How about patio furniture or hanging baskets and shepherd's hooks and porch swings? Are you seeing an uptick in all of that
All of
area?
I would say all of it. Yeah, anything involving your decorating your yard and your deck is going out the door. Yeah, it's definitely been significant. The effect the pandemic's had on the amount of shopping that's being done.
Ross, houseplants.
Houseplants.
There's that's another whole aspect to gardening, and
Yeah, we'd mentioned about the pandemic and
Yeah.
the effect the pandemic has had on home gardeners. It's the effect on indoor plants has just been tremendous for us.
Okay.
Just seems like there's a ton of new young gardeners out there that have taken an interest to indoor plants.
okay.
I would say last 15 years I was getting in maybe two trucks every week or two. Right now we're getting in probably 4 or 5 trucks a week in indoor plants and
Wow.
not necessarily keeping up. So yeah, it's been
Is there
been
any
a major resurgence in indoor plants.
And it's healthy. It's healthy for
Mm-hmm.
us mentally and physically to have the house plants. So it's a great asset to our lives. There's some plants that are easier. Once again, going to those first time customers looking for plants. I have to assume that some of your house plants are easier to care for and some are harder.
For sure. Yeah, there's-
First time person getting into house plants. What do you?
I would say
what do you push them towards?
Sansevieria. It's just a low light, easy maintenance plant. The more you forget about it, probably the better it does.
Okay.
It's
So don't kill it with kindness.
correct. And most house plants, you can be a little less forgiving on them.
Okay.
Probably the worst thing you can do on a house plant is overwater it. For
Okay.
the most part, you give them a drink once or twice a week there. Bright indirect light, and you're pretty good to go. Then when you get into the growing season, occasional fertilizer. But
Okay. Same type you like doing a liquid fertilizer? over
I would
granular
probably
again?
do a liquid as well.
Okay. How about is there insect issues or anything when you get
Depends
into
on the plant.
houseplants?
Some things are a little more prone to insect issues. Some of your palms and stuff, you might have some mite issues, some aphid issues on various things. But for the most part, there's not a whole lot of problems with houseplants, and that we sell products specifically for indoor plants for
Okay.
pest management. But for the most part, they're pretty carefree.
Okay. What's your favorite out of what we're looking at here?
Yeah, succulents. I like succulents a lot. There are just so many different ones out there and unique shapes and textures to them. Things with succulents, the more you get, the more interesting it is, because you just see all the different forms of them. So if you're planting a succulent garden, if you can get multiple types in there in different textures and sizes, just gives it a whole lot more interest. But I think they're pretty neat.
Yeah. Love having the houses green like that. So
Yeah.
it's a good add-on to outside and inside, keeping you healthy. A big thank you to Ross Trax and Abby Spinweber, the marketing director of Trax Farm, and the entire Trax Farm humongous family for allowing us to film this segment here at Trax Farm, a cherished treasure here in the South Hills. But also, please stay tuned to Bethel Park TV for all the social media of what's coming up with the Bethel Park Spring Makeover Challenge, so you could see how you could participate and how you could win some valuable prizes. So thank you for watching BPTV. I'm your host, Andy Amrine, and we'll see you around town soon.